Some big numbers coming out of the housing market today, and they're not looking pretty if you're looking to buy or rent. It's all getting even more expensive.
Home prices in the U.S. have climbed at a record pace during the pandemic. The median home price reached over $363,000 in June 2021, a 23.4% increase from 2020. Many of these houses are being sold above their asking price, often entirely in cash, with bidding wars becoming the new norm to weed out the competition.
At the beginning of the pandemic, the Fed cut interest rates to zero, and that dropped mortgage rates to historical lows. And as soon as people figured out how to buy a home in a safe manner with social distancing, people came right back to the housing market.
So you can see in just basically the last 15 months or so, we've seen a dramatic acceleration in home price growth to levels we haven't seen in decades.
It turned cold. Existing home sales falling in March, but at least in part because there just aren't enough homes to buy.
While the market has cooled down considerably in June compared to its peak, fears of a housing bubble are becoming prevalent among many homeowners.
I think it was sticker shock. I think a lot of people got in there and said, I just can't afford this. And that's why home sales came down.
Almost every conversation that I've had over the past decade is, well, one, there's this fear that we might find ourselves in another crash, and buyers don't want to be the ones holding the bag in the middle of that transition of a different market.
If a house bubble were to happen, it would mean that a very large portion of Americans' wealth are tied up in risky assets, and they could lose a lot of their wealth as soon as those home prices drop.
So is America currently in another housing bubble? And what are the signs that can help investors predict an oncoming crash?
That question and many more will get out with a special guest, Ms. Kiki Blofsky. Kiki, welcome to High Elevations. I would like to begin by reading your bio for those who don't know much about you. If you can just bear with me a quick second so I can find your bio, and I'll read that for our guest. Please pardon me. I'm having some technical difficulties here.
A housing bubble.
Apologies, Kiki. Stand by a second, okay? This generally does not happen. For some reason, it's just froze up on me. And I don't know why it's acting up like that. Right?
Special.
No time we always suggest. So let's just dive into it. So I can't find your bio right now. And I'm sure we have plenty of questions. We can get into all of that in a few. But for those who don't know you and don't have no idea who you are, I've never heard of the name Kiki Blofsky before. Well, let's begin by telling a little about yourself, particularly like the neighborhood you grew up in. What was that like? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so grew up in the DMV area, mostly in Southeast Washington, D.C. area and PG County, which everyone from the area knows that's still basically Southeast D.C., depending on where you were in the area. But what I think is unique about my childhood, which shouldn't be unique, it's sad that it is that I grew up with both my parents in the home, even in those neighborhoods, and it just wasn't common when we grew up. So now that I'm an adult and you look back and you think like, dang, there was so much going on during that time, and you had no idea because my parents allowed us to be kids still. So really, I have no complaints about my childhood, even whether we were in some of the rough areas or some of the not so rough areas. I loved every single minute of it.
So both parents in the home in Southeast, and you're right, back in those days, that was really unheard of growing up in the inner city.
In PG County, right over the line. Yeah.
Exactly. So those who don't know, we're talking about Washington, D.C. area. You know, the DMV is considered D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, DMV.
Yeah.
We're proud of that. Before we, if you was from Virginia, you were like, man, I ain't from Virginia, I'm from D.C. And now we got to combine them all for the DMV, right? So you can rep your hood in that way, I guess. So growing up in your household, what was that like? You know, the two parents. Are you the only child?
No, I have 3 other siblings, but I am the baby, so I'm the favorite child. Self-proclaimed favorite child. I tell my mother every day that I'm her favorite child. also. But growing up as a baby, of course, they say I was very spoiled, but I don't think I was very spoiled. I think I was just very loved, right? So I think I
You might
was
have
just
to
loved.
ask your other two brothers about that. Your brother, it's a brothers and sisters, or what?
I have 2 older brothers and a sister.
So it's 4 of y'all.
Yes, 4 total.
Okay.
Although I tell my sister she's adopted all the time, but she's not apparently. Apparently she blood. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it was just I wouldn't call it chaotic, but I think someone on the outside looking in would say it's so chaotic. So we're very loud, and it's always a lot of people over all the time. There was always something going on dinner wise or just social wise as well. So in today's age where everyone is so separate into their computers and phones and everything, it's a little difficult to get used to, right? It's like this, and nobody's like looking at each other anymore.
That's so true. It's funny. Growing up in a house with 2 parents, as I did myself, you tend to find yourself fighting with your siblings over this and over that. You being a baby, I'm sure nobody messed with the baby because you're a favorite. But did you encounter any kind of things like that with your siblings? Growing up, those are my pants, those are my shoes, that kind of stuff. It was a normal household.
Yeah, mostly with my sister because so they're all like 8, 9, and 10 years older than me.
Okay.
But I was still her stuff.
Right, there's a big gap in between you being the youngest and the last of them. Okay.
Yeah, I would steal her jewelry and her clothes, and I would wear it to school. And I had like all this gold, big hoop earrings and chains and Sergio Giacchini sweats. And I'm just walking in school, and I'm like, And then I would try to hurry up and get home and change. But then she realized I was stealing it. So then I was like, well, I don't need to hurry up and get home and change anymore. I just deal with it. I kept stealing her stuff. So she didn't like that. I stole her clothes and I wore them proudly.
I know that's right. There's nothing wrong with that. And since you brought up school, let's talk about that. You went to school in the DMV, high school, elementary school in this area, and college. Talk to me about your journey.
Yeah, both. So elementary school, I went to elementary school in DC. Middle school.
You went in DC, elementary school in DC. I went to school in DC too. Which one?
Neville Thomas. Okay, over in Parkside, Paradise, Mayfair.
Oh, Lord. Don't say that. Paradise.
Parkside, Paradise, Mayfair, Kenilworth. Yeah, Neville Thomas. And then junior high and high school, I was in Maryland on PG County side. I can't remember. I think I went to like 2 different junior high schools. Junior high school, but high school, I went to 3 different high schools.
Okay. So, in DC, or that was from Maryland as well?
Maryland high schools. Uh-huh. Okay. Yep. I went to Potomac, Crossland, and then Sarasville.
What about education? Did you go to higher education, college?
Yeah, so I went to Maryland for my undergrad, American for my master's, and University of San Francisco for my doctorate, and Concord Law School for my law degree.
That's funny. You just glaze. So, it's like, I went to bachelor's like this. No. Listen, I want people to recognize the power of education and how, because it's not easy. Not everybody can just go finna get a bachelor's degree, a master's, and then go to my law school. And really, talk to us about that journey. What was it like sitting there as a Black female working on a bachelor's degree to start us at that, the master's, the law school? Talk to us about that.
Well, I went into the military when I was about 19, going 20-ish or whatever, 19 or 20. And I didn't have any plans on going that far educationally. I knew that at the bare minimum, I'm going to get a bachelor's. I went into the military in 99. I'm aging myself now. But in 99, even though my slogan is I'm 25 for life, so it doesn't matter. I'm still 25. So I went there and, like I said, had no plans on doing anything more than the bachelor's, because that's what it was. Get your little bachelor's degree and kind of be done. And but in the military, because they're paying for your education, there was so much money on the table. So I was like, I'll go for the next thing and the next thing. And next thing I know, I'm into a doctorate. And I was like, I still got money left. You know what? I'm going to go to law school because I've always been into law. And so that's how that happened. I always tell people that even when I was in corporate America, like, you know what? It was never the plan for me to just go get all these degrees, so don't judge yourself if that's not something you necessarily wanted to do, but you kind of fall into it. But the byproduct is what I love the most, aside from having a piece of paper, but I don't let it define me. And I ask people, please don't let a piece of paper define you either.
No doubt. So you in the military, in the Air Force, I believe it was?
Yes, in the Air Force for 10 years.
How many years you did in the Air Force?
10.
10. And what was your AFSC? What was your job? Yeah, I know that because I was all around Army, hua. So I learned about the Air Force and all that. So what was your AFSC or what was your job title?
So you was MOSing and I was AFCing. I worked with all the different branches because I was 3MO, mortuary affairs. And started out specifically for forensics and then went into HR and was in HR for the rest of the time. In mortuary though.
And I consider myself in this area, I'm the most electrifying HR person in DC. So,
then we'll talk offline then, because we'll have some great things to talk about. I'm in my 24th year in the HR profession. So,
that's like 30 plus something years doing HR then.
Yeah,
so we definitely talk offline. That's a whole other conversation right there, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So, bachelor's degree, master's degree, law degree, and you got a doctor's degree as well?
I do.
So the doctor's degree, what was your dissertation on?
On human resources and women in the workforce.
You don't want to read that.
No problem.
I definitely want to read that. All right, so now you're all this education, join the military, get out the military, then what's next for you after 10 years? People usually stay and do 20 after they reach the 10. But you're out of the military. Not mortuary. You're right. Not a mortuary affairs.
You're like, no. But so while I was in the military and being in HR, grabbing it from there, you learn to network very quickly. And you also learn that there's more outside of the military. The military definitely was my foundation. But then you learn there's a whole lot more that you can be doing out there. And so I networked with people, the key holders for these corporate roles and corporate jobs. And I was able to easily slide into those roles. And I didn't have the hard transition from service to civilian because I worked with both civilian and military personnel when I was active. So it was a perfect blend. And so that was my transition. But then I also quickly learned they want to see more papers and more acronyms behind the name. Okay. All right then. And then there was no excuse because school is online. You can do it from anywhere, your own pace. I was like, I really don't have an excuse. So let me just go ahead and knock this out.
And the military, which I like to call Uncle Sugar, not Uncle Sam, but Uncle Sugar, he paid for all your degrees?
Absolutely. And I didn't have to do anything else for it. So yeah.
I got a bachelor's and a master's degree. Uncle Sugar paid me for those degrees.
Yeah.
Paid me to go to school, right? Pay for the books. Y'all talk what y'all want to talk about Uncle Sugar, but hey, he's been good to me. All right, so you got all that behind you now, and then you got into real estate. How did that come about? Because you went into HR, you went into the workforce in corporate America, and then somehow something just popped in and said, I want to do real estate. How did that come about?
So I will tell you, even prior to the military, I've always been like a serial entrepreneur, even in high school and even coming through. And so I'm always looking at different streams. There's several different things to do in terms of coming up with different streams of revenue. But then I wanted to dive deeper. I didn't only want to just have a different stream of revenue. I wanted it to be something that can be flexible, that I can do from anywhere. I don't have to be locked down. So if I still want to work in corporate America, I can. If I don't have to. It was all these other elements that I wanted involved because I had all these other opportunities in front of me. But I was like, they're great, but they're not good for me. Like brick and mortar restaurants and stuff like that. I'm like, nope, that'll require me to be there if people decide that they don't want to work and stuff like that. And I looked at all of these great business models, but they had a physicality to it that I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to just do what I want to do, when I want to do it. So I looked into real estate. And at one point I looked into getting a real estate license. And I was like, oh, yes, this will be great. I'm going to get me a real estate license. But then I was like, no, that requires you to kind of be physical too. I was like, I don't want to do that. So, and I just thought like, gosh, people with real estate licensing, they work really hard and they have a lot of patience. And it takes a special person to be successful as a real estate agent. And I already failed. So I was like, nope, I can't, not gonna do that one. So I started looking into real estate investing, and right away it seemed really intimidating because you hear investing, you think money, lots of money, you better have some money. If you think real estate, you think big. And you're like, gosh, like where am I gonna get, how am I gonna do all this? So I started researching, how to do this. I hear people say, oh, do it without using your own money, and no one really tells you how. They talk about it a lot, and you listen to 45 minutes of a webinar about their life, and they'll tell you. So I had to do a lot of legwork on my own to find out about it. And once I did, I was completely sold. But when I first was learning about it, it was still kind of physical as well. Then I was thinking to myself, there's got to be a way to do this without having to leave the house, because I'm not trying to do that. And there was. So I learned everything.
Talk to me about that, because you mentioned that it's about doing real estate with your phone and no money, with a cell phone and no money.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell my viewers about that.
Or landline if you're still into landlines.
Say again?
I said, or landline if you're still into that.
Not those, right? All right. Well, tell me about that.
So it's funny because the video that you showed is so very true. And it's funny because that video is so very true for a real estate agent and for someone doing traditional real estate. As a real estate investor, and specifically as a virtual real estate investor, you're tapping into that market that no one is seeing. You're tapping into the unlisted market. It's not even on the MLS. So your competition is really low. It's like maybe 2 or 3, maybe 0. It's very low, your competition, because you don't have a bunch of people going after this one piece of property because nobody knows about it anyway, because it's not listed. So it's very different for us. And the fact that you can do it from anywhere, you don't have to go see the property, you don't have to go inspect the property because it's as is anyway. And then of course, with regards to being able to do this without utilizing your own money, there's several different dispositions with real estate investing. And so the particular one that a lot of my clients and students learn first will be wholesaling. Most people know the term is wholesaling. That's one of the ones they'll go into first because you don't have to use any of your money, not even for escrow. And that always blows people's minds. They're like, wait a minute, how did you get a contract with no escrow? I'm like, take the class, I'll teach you. But once you know, it's so simple and so easy. And then also, I learned also about funding, because some people say, well, you know what, I actually want to hold this property, but I don't want to go get a mortgage, right? And I learned like, hey, there's creative lending. So when I learned about creative lending, what did I do? Become a broker too. So I was like, I'm gonna become a lending broker too. So put all those two together.
And you also started a company called Omega Group.
Capital Group, yeah.
Capital Group, Omega Capital Group. Mm-hmm. Hey, tell me about that. What does that consist of?
So Omega Capital Group, and the name itself really came about. I sat down with some associates of mine that actually over in the Eastern world, and I was like, you know what, I want to do something big. I want, like, with my company, I wanted to be like big, and I wanted to be able to reach every angle and touch on these different areas. And we kind of like brainstorm, and that's where the term Omega came up, because Omega, obviously with home and real estate, but it also encompasses any and everything else, meaning mega, big, massive, things of that nature. And the reason why I wanted big was because I knew that it was going to be more than just real estate, but I knew it would all tie together. So not only do we focus on real estate investing, but we also focus on business lending and real estate lending as well for investors specifically, as well as life insurance, and of course teaching as well. So
you have a series, a course that you teach. What's the name of the course?
Yeah, so it's the all-inclusive real estate investing blueprint, and it's a mouthful. So we call it AIREI, and you can actually access information on the course right on our site at Omega Capital Group. You'll see the AIREI course, and on this course was really born because as I was learning about real estate investing, I was so sick of people kind of nickel and diming information and kind of piecing it out. Pay $97 and that's it to learn. You pay and you don't learn anything. You learn more about them and where they grew up and the beaches that they've been on. And then you got to pay more to learn about the other beaches they went to. And by the time you have learned about anything with regards to real estate, you're like, $5,000 in, and you still haven't learned everything. You got to pay something else. I just thought it was such a scam. Like that model, I hated everything about it. And I was like, nice if there was a course that told you everything. And maybe not every little thing, but pretty much a lot. There's several different dispositions. It would be great if it was just the one price. You didn't have to keep paying over and over again, and it's on demand. And all these things I was wishing for. And I was like, what am I wishing for? Just create it. And that's how it was born. So it was really birthed out of my pains, the struggles of learning this industry. And I was like, I don't want anybody else to do this.
Right. Yeah, that's just you created a core for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That other people can watch and learn from that.
Yeah.
And then it's on demand.
Yeah.
And how much for this course and how long is it?
Yeah, so the course, the good thing about the fact that it's on demand, so there's two different versions of the course. You have the course itself, and it's a lifetime access. It's on demand, so it's as long as you want it to be. It's as fast or short, however long you want it to be. It does come with 10 hours of one-on-one coaching, so you kind of pick your own times and just drop it on the calendar. We also offer the small business setup assistance. You get a 30-day virtual assistant support, also the group coachings as well. And then we also offer the great thing I do love that makes us different from some of the other courses that are out there, but also great courses, is that we offer 100% tuition financing. And that was really important that I offered my students that, because there's so many people that want to break into the real estate investing industry and they just don't have the money to pay for the course. And they just can't pay for it, no matter whether it's $2,000 or $10,000. They can't, and then they just feel stuck. And so that was the other thing. I was like, I wish there was options other than a payment plan of $1,000 here. And it's like, the point is, it's too much money. So the first portion of the course, or the one version of the course, is $6,039. Mm-hmm. And then there is the same thing. You get all of that plus 40 hours of one-on-one coaching that you pick your times, and that is $10,800. So all that plus that, with the 100% tuition financing, my students love it because it took a burden off of their shoulders to say, hey, I'm only paying $89 a month now versus $6,000 or whatever. So people have the option to pay in full, but most people, they want the flexibility. They want to see proof of concept. Because I like, once they make their first deal, it superseded whatever even if they paid for the 10,000 version or the 6,000 version, they're going to make their first deal's going to pay for it.
I took the words out of my mouth. In essence, it will pay for itself at some point.
Yeah.
And you kind of took the question away from me. I was going to ask, then, what differentiates you from your competitors? What sets you apart? You kind of alluded to that. You offer the finance and other options. Anything else you want to add to that distinguishes you from everybody else?
Aside from the financing piece, which is huge for our clients, but the other piece that's really big is that it's all of these different real estate dispositions in one course. Most organizations, you have to pay for a wholesale course, and then a fix and flip course, and a buy and hold course, and a mortgage note. We got to pay for all these different courses. This is everything in one. And it's lifetime. So as we update things, like we'll be adding digital real estate on there, you'll get that too. So once you're in the course, you're in. It's a lifetime access. All the updates, you get them. We also offer the lending options in there as well. So we have students and clients who want to do what we call JVs, or joint venture deals. They'll bring us the deal. We will fund the deal and split the profits with them, and they love it. So so those are like some of the differences that I've seen, and these are major differences. And like I said, again, birthed out of me just kind of going through it myself. And I'm like, why can't just be in one? Be in one place.
You got the umbrella started under the financial group, which is great, and everything else kind of goes under that. So COVID hit, right? And a lot of small businesses went out of business, and they probably won't even come back. what have you done, to your business to, I guess, to make it COVID, resistance?
Yeah. So this is the beautiful thing. I have always been a virtual real estate investor from the time that I started, even before it was a thing. I made it a thing because I was like, I'm just not going. So I'm like,
You
we're
ain't
gonna do it
going
right.
nowhere.
Yeah, what's your number? Email? Okay, we're in business. So the beautiful thing about that is that COVID actually increased our sales. It didn't do anything. We had no adverse reactions from COVID because we were already virtual. We already wasn't going anywhere. If anything, it was more so about educating the title companies on how to do things because most title companies, they were used to being in person and things like that. And now they're all virtual. And the fact that you can, I'm in Arizona right now, but I do business in all over the country, not even just in the US.
So, talk to me about how you leverage technology then, to, I guess,
Yeah.
give you an edge over others who didn't adapt quickly and so forth.
Yeah, so the technology being leveraged was phenomenal because the biggest piece of technology would have been just utilizing any and everything that would be digital, especially when working with the title companies. So when working with your electronic transfers, leveraging that aspect of it, as well as leveraging Zoom, leveraging email, of course, and conference call. So these are things that obviously already existed long before COVID, but now it's in the forefront. Now everyone is using it, and we have to use it in order to conduct a lot of our business. So that was a number one factor in doing these deals.
So, how will you describe your company's success so far since you started?
I would definitely say that we are. I can because I'm used to working with corporate America and strategy and business trajectory. I still consider us in growth phase, and the reason why I still consider us in growth phase is because the industry keeps changing. So as the industry keeps changing, we have to evolve and change. So right now, it's changed more to like a digital real estate market. So I still consider us in a growth phase in terms of industry change. Now, in terms of revenue change, we're definitely surpassed that and surpassed it very quickly, which is one of the reasons why I just want to show everybody like how to do this, especially my people. And I don't bash people who want to work a 9 to 5 because that's maybe what they want to do. That's what they feel comfortable doing. So I never try to tell people, oh, it's horrible. That's what you want to do. Like, if it brings you peace, do it. Like, I want you to do it. But for those that want more, this is one of the reasons why I just want to just share it with everyone and try to make it possible for everyone to jump in and get a piece of this world that's out here because there's a lot to go around.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's out there. But like I always tell people, it's easy when you know how. And education is part of that, right? You have to get that. And I believe that education is the new currency for the 21st century and beyond. Those who have it will open up doors for themselves, and those who don't, those will be slamming their faces. So I mean,
Absolutely.
with you got big money in terms of education, bachelor's, masters. So doors are just opening up. So everything that you're doing right now, from the beginning with education and the military and all that kind of stuff, how is your experience in education and all that led to where you are now? I'm sure you got some skills from the military that you weren't aware that you be using now. I'm sure you got some some knowledge, some skills, and some abilities from all education and stuff. That whole journey, is it all tied together, or is it there's a break in there? Tell me about that. You have a lot going on with all that.
Yeah, I think it ties together because I could definitely say, like, had I not gone to the military, spent some time in corporate America, which I'm still in corporate America, kinda. So spent some time in corporate America. I don't know if I would have been able to network properly and have the conversations with the different cultures of people that I'm having conversations with, and just know how to conduct yourself when doing business, because otherwise I would still kind of be doing status quo and not really necessarily know how to have these conversations with people. And also one thing it taught me is that people buy into you, not really your product. Your product is second. If they like you, you could sell them air.
Right, you're the product.
So I learned that really early on, but I learned that from the experiences from the military and corporate America and going to school and education. And, you kind of get there and you're like, well, why don't you just say this? Why don't you just do that? And it's like, no. And you learn all that without losing yourself at the same time.
It's true. People don't realize how much work goes into entrepreneurship. There's, and I always tell people, I break it down into two divisions. Like, you have to make time to work in the business when you actually out there working. You're trying to sell the product or you're trying to get a sale or whatever. Then you got to be working on the business, where you make sure you pay your taxes, make sure that the website is right. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're on top of it. So it's a lot. And if you're doing it by yourself, it's a full-time job all on its own.
Yeah.
And people don't see that on the background, right? And all they see, Kiki, she got all these degrees, she got this company, she charging this for these courses. But they don't realize the work that went into that, right? Talk to us a little bit about how much it takes to become an entrepreneur, and even harder, how much it is to maintain it.
I always tell people, whatever it is you want to do is never hard, because that's what you wanted to do. And then I always tell people, like, I never hear a crackhead complaining about where they're gonna get money to get their crack.
That's right. They find it, don't they?
They find it with a smile. However they find it.
That's right.
So my question to people: what is your crack? What is it?
Ooh, I love it.
Is it your child? Is it your sick parent? Is it a vacation you want? Is it financial? What is your crack?
Love it.
And I'm like, so don't talk to me about it's hard, I can't. So that's why I don't flinch when I tell people how much the course costs and all that good stuff, because for those that want it, I don't sell it, I don't convince. Yep. I'm not doing that.
Yep.
No, that's your parents for.
That's right. I remember back in the early 90s, I was looking at real estate, getting into that. I can't remember the guy's name, but everybody was buying this course, right? And it came with the booklets and the forms, and I can't think what it's called, but it's like one of those courses. I spent like $2,500 for it, whatever it was, right? Yeah. It might have been $3,000, but back then that was a lot of money. I don't care. I want to learn about how to do this business, and and I learned so much from that. I mean, it was like the beginning. It just opened up my mind to so much.
Yeah.
And that I went in a different direction, but you're right. I don't beg people to for them to be my clients. These are my prices. I'll work with you, but this is the price. You go to all these other stores and all these places, their prices are the prices, and you can't go into haggling, right? So why you want to haggle with me? So I respect that about you, and I thank you for that. All right. Here's my next question. It's not your question. If your product is the answer, then what's the question?
I think the question for most people, and the question for me, at least, was when I'm driving through a neighborhood, and I like to people watch, right? And I'm looking at these like houses, people are here. I'm like, they never leave the house. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you making this money? How are you obtaining your wealth? Not riches, because riches don't last long. Right. How are you obtaining your wealth? Like, what is it that you do? Like, it's like, what is it? You don't leave the house. Your wife go drink coffee all day, play with her friends. You're over here on the phone. Like, what do you do? Because we grew up in places where our parents left the house, they went to work, and that's what we knew, right?
Yeah. You better go to school or something.
No. I'm like, no. What do you do? And the first thing that I learned was network. Change your circle. Change who you're around. Is this where you're hanging out? Look at your 5 friends. Exactly. Now go over here. Because there's no way you can hang amongst millionaires and still be broke. You can't. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Right? So
you can't do it.
They won't even let you hang around them that long. Right?
No, you can't. It's impossible, because you're going to learn from them. And if you don't do what they're teaching you, you're going to, like you said, you're not going to be able, because you have nothing in common anymore unless you start going down that road for that trajectory. And so that's the question. Like, what more? How can I get this? What more is out there, and how?
And the real ones that really want you to help you succeed are really going to push you, and it's really up to you. Right? I'm a firm believer now. I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to feed you. I can give you the answer all day, but when I'm not here, who's going to give you the answer? So definitely. Here's our last question. Then this is what the young people call the crispy one.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, obviously, you've amassed, I'm sure, a lot of wealth. You got your businesses, and if you were to pass right now, You know, I think I'm already in your bio. You got 3 kids. You know,
I
and
have
you're
5.
married, 5 kids, and you're married and all that, right? So you would be able to leave them all this money, the house, the cars, and all that, right? But if you weren't able to leave any of that, but you were able to leave 3 principles for succeeding in life, succeeding in business or as an entrepreneur, what 3 principles will you leave to the next generation and why?
One, be coachable. Shut up and listen. Stop
Yes.
thinking you know nothing. That's why you're here talking to me, because you don't know anything. Like,
Right.
listen. Shut up and listen. Be coachable. Be humble. And be a servant leader.
Certainly, I love it. I love it. Those are excellent advice, and anybody who's listening, if they can just take those 3 simple things and apply it to their life, it'll change your life around. I promise
Yeah.
you. And I believe in those, and I use those as some of my mantras as well. So, Kiki, I'm gonna leave you the last word.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the last word, but I'm gonna open up the floor for you now to be able to promote yourself, promote your businesses, tell us more about that, where they can find you, and that kind of stuff. I have the ticker at the bottom with your email and so forth, but I want you to tell them because this has been memorialized and recorded. So I'll have it right here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. But for everyone who definitely wants to reach out, you can visit me at homegacapitalgroup.com. Also, feel free to send me an email directly to Kiki Blofsky at homegacapitalgroup.com. If you're interested in learning about the real estate investing course, you can access it from homegacapitalgroup.com. And also, you can just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. We can jump on a call, and I can answer any questions you need. And then just feel free to reach out anytime. I'm very happy to help, and it's happy to see another group of millionaires hit the ground running.
But remember, folks, she's in Arizona. Was it a 2-hour difference? Right?
Right now it is, but when your time changes, it'll be 3 hours because our time don't change.
Oh, it doesn't. What do you guys consider Mountain Central Time?
So if you just leave it at Arizona time, right now we're MST, but when your time change, we'll be considered PST because then we'll be 3 hours behind you. But we stay still, and you guys change back and forth.
Oh, now you moved out to Arizona, so now it's you guys.
Oh, yeah.
You DMV now.
I'm telling you, I'm out here trying to convince myself that I've been in Arizona my whole life.
Wow.
No, I love the DMV. Always be a DMV girl, but we love it out here.
I know that's right. I have a friend who's out there, and he talks to race about how much he loves it out there. But I don't know. I keep hearing all these stories about Arizona. It's like, I don't know. I've never been there. but you reassured me that it seems like be a nice place. So that's good to know.
Oh, we love it.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Kiki. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit there and talk to me, and I'm sure our audience enjoyed this. If you enjoyed tonight's show, if you want to become a sponsor, all you got to do is send an email to hetvchannel@gmail.com. Some of our sponsors right now, we have 3: Human Resource Achievement Program Incorporated, JAE Consultant, and RAIN LLC, which is Real Estate Improvement Group Network. Until the next episode, always seek higher elevations. Kiki, thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.